Now, I know this week we focused a lot on women, but this aspect of it is something that I think we should address. Women, sometimes we need to give men a chance as well too. A chance to express their feelings without judgments, a chance to fall apart, to break down, to be vulnerable. And here joining me to talk about this, to discuss the ways that we can do this and unpack mental health with men in particular, is Dellison Charles. And he is going to be joining me to talk about this. He's a holistic life coach. Dellison, thank you for being here with us.
And thank you for having me, Dawn.
Thanks.
Morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Okay,
I'm doing
good.
well. I'm feeling.
All right. So we're talking a lot about men this morning, and we're going to be talking about mental health and the stigmas attached to it. Why is it so difficult for us as women, as men, to take men seriously when they express themselves, when they express emotions?
Well, I think it's a double-edged sword in that one, it's typical for us to reference conditioning, the way that we have been prepared as a society emotionally, from a very early age. I say women have been normalized, or females have been normalized when it comes to the sphere of emotions, to express those, to dwell in those, to communicate about those, even to be that way. You know, it has become known that it's female, it's feminine, it's lighter, so to speak, to be emotional. But men, we are prepared in the sense that we are supposed to be strong, we are supposed to be brave, and being emotional or being sensitive has never really been associated with being brave or being strong. And I tell people, you know, it's not a gender thing, it's not a male or female thing, but that's something that we're coming to understand now in 2023 or recently. But typically, when you talk about men being prepared to be men, or girls being prepared to be women, girls have always been made to feel more comfortable with being emotional and to express those emotions. But men, we have, you know, we have been told from an early age, boys don't cry. You know, so don't be weak, don't be sensitive, because those things are not in line with being a man.
Right.
You know, so that was all this from early.
Yeah, when I'm listening to you talking and I'm thinking of the phrase, you know, man up, you know, phrases like that, which means to, you know, don't show emotion, don't show you're sweating or you're nervous, you know, show that sort of bravery and put on that brave face. Talk to us about vulnerability.
Right. Vulnerability, I think there are two things that are fundamental to one, human existence, and two, to relationships growing and so on. Those two things are communication and vulnerability. I tell people, you know, communication is like the oxygen. So it means that if you're not communicating in a relationship, eventually that relationship will die. Similarly, it's the same thing with vulnerability, because vulnerability, as defined, it's your willingness to show emotion, it's your willingness to allow your weaknesses or your weaker areas to be known or to be seen. And the thing is, if we want to grow in relationships, and even on an individual level, if you want to grow as an individual, you want to be understood, you want to flourish, you want to grow and to pursue ambition, it's first important for you to take stock of the areas where you are vulnerable, and then attend to those, you know, nurture those. And then if you're talking on a relationship level, it's important for the other persons, you know, whether it be your significant other, it be your siblings, it be your, you know, extended family members, friends even. If you want those relationships with those people to grow, it's important for you to allow yourself to be supported, allow yourself to be understood by revealing not necessarily just your strong areas, but those areas where you may need some support to advance or to move further along. And that would require you to be vulnerable, to show those areas.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is understanding that, you know, you can feel your feelings. It's okay to feel anger. It's okay to feel, you know, depressed. And I mean, we see in the news all these reports of persons, you know, committing suicide and causing self-harm to themselves. And, you know, when you look at their lives, or you hear these stories coming out of it, you hear that, you know, they've been depressed for a while. They've been trying to reach out for help. Talk to us about that and understanding that it's okay to be depressed. It's okay not to be okay. But it's what we do with that moving forward.
Definitely. I think when it comes to emotions, again, when we talk about social conditioning and preparation, when it comes to emotions, women have been, females have been made comfortable with expressing the gamut, or or exploring the gamut of emotions, from being extremely angry to extremely sad to extremely happy to excited. It's okay for a female to be that way, and I think that from early, as I said, men have been disadvantaged in that we have been limited. In terms of social acceptability, we have been limited to certain emotions. We have been told that we can be brave, we can be strong, we can be excited, we can be happy, we can even be angry. And that's where toxic masculinity could come in. We could be angry, we could be wrong and strong, as we say. But when it comes to being sad, or when it comes to being depressed, or when it comes to feeling a low emotional state, we can't show those things, because one, we would be judged negatively for it. There would be a lot of stereotypes and criticisms, and so I tell people, not because you don't reveal it doesn't mean that you're not feeling it.
Right.
That interesting thing about feelings is that even though we may ignore it, even though we may try to avoid expressing it or talking about it, it does not stop us from feeling it, because feelings are human. Even if you want to be socially acceptable by revealing certain feelings and hiding with the other ones, if you don't have a healthy coping mechanism, what is going to happen is that very soon what is being hidden in the dark will come out to light.
Right.
And sometimes it comes out in ways that you may not want to. And that's where psychological pain and emotional pain comes in. And I tell people, psychological pain is as powerful or as hurtful as physical pain.
Yeah.
Because about psychological pain is that it has to do with your perception. And you know what we say? Your perception is your reality.
Yes.
It has to do with the way that you perceive yourself, the way that you perceive your set of circumstances, the way that you perceive your life. And once that perception is negative in nature or negative in outlook, it means then that no matter how we try to self-medicate, whether people or with substances or with temporary events or situations, no matter if we try to medicate with those, because this has to do with our entire perception and outlook, and that's being negative, it is going to affect us in all of our situations and all of our relationships. And sooner or later, we will try to find a way to escape that psychological pain, because that's what happens with pain.
Yeah.
If we have a toothache, we might either medicate with some Panadol, or we go to the dentist. If we have some pain in our chest, we might go to a cardiologist, and so on. But when it comes to the psychological pain, because there is stigma attached to it, because there is definition attached to it negatively, where one might be perceived as being weak or being frail, or being not ready or undeserving, and all of the other negative connotations that may come with psychological pain. People prefer to try to deal with psychological pain in private. And as you said, if there is no positive outlet, if there is no support through those relationships and safe spaces, then we may try to take matters into our own hands, and that may not end well.
Yeah, I want to go back to talking about safe spaces just now. But, we saw in the news yesterday where, and we've seen it before, men being, I guess, bashed on social media or in society for, reporting being abused, or, whether it's at the hands of women or anything of that nature. It shows, it's being shown as, a weakness. I would not have reported being abused, you could have report that. And the thing is that it's a crime, and it's a crime committed against a man by a woman. Talk to us about that, and men being victims. And, we're not talking about like a victim mentality, but you're an actual victim. Something happened to you. You deserve the right to report this crime. You deserve the right to get help. Talk to us about that.
Definitely. The reason why I smiled or I chuckled, when we spoke about it, is because, again, the limited view the limited view that we have when it comes to abuse, because sometimes people think abuse is not abuse unless it's physical. So that's why people may say the only abuse we take seriously would be domestic violence or literally somebody abusing a child or so child abuse or domestic violence, sexual abuse, those things that we tend to feel very polarized, or we tend to have very visceral reactions to. People acknowledge those as being abuse. But when we understand that abuse is not necessarily just physical, but by definition, it speaks about a misuse or a mistreatment of another human being in a particular sphere. We open up the conversation now to speak about psychological abuse. We open up the conversation to speak about emotional abuse. And in the cases of some relationships or families, we even have financial abuse, where people are being denied the basic right of provision or the basic human right of safety. And that's where we connected now to safe spaces. So when a man talks about abuse or being abused, yes, some people tend to undermine that, or some people tend to ridicule that when it comes to physical abuse. And again, because of the stereotype that men are strong and that women are the fairer vessel.
Right.
So automatically, if a man comes forward and talks about physical abuse, the connotation is, well, you have to be a weak man or you have to be a soft man. Yeah. But then when we think about emotional abuse and the fact that men, just because of how we have been conditioned and prepared to not express emotions, yet having a real human need for emotional connection and expression, it means then that when we are starved, men, of the basic right to feel and to express within an environment of safety, within a context of love and acceptance, which will help us grow and flourish. Once we are denied that basic right, but furthermore mistreated in that way where we are already starved and being malnourished, that is something to be taken seriously. But unless our society, unless our bodies of authority, unless they themselves become prepared or become sensitized to the issue, it will continue to be a matter of ridicule.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that categorically.
Yeah.
It will continue to be a matter of ridicule.
And talking about society, how do we as individuals and as a society unlearn that behavior, unlearn that stigma that we've attached to men being vulnerable as weak, men not being able to understand or even see a man as a victim, even when something is done against him to harm him? How do we unlearn that behavior?
Definitely, I think the first thing that we have to do, and that's the way that I approach sessions with my clients. When I have to do anything in talking or using the gift, the first thing I do is I go back to the definition. And I think that as a society, it would be well for us to go back to the definitions, or to educate ourselves when it comes to certain things. I mean, when you think about just the definition of a safe space, you understand that it is a place that is free of bias, free of conflict, free of criticism, and free of potentially threatening conversations. And so you understand that having a safe space or providing a safe space for somebody is connected to a basic human rights.
Yeah.
And so if we were to educate ourselves first on the definitions of certain things, we understand that what is being asked for or what we are requesting to see in society, it's not something that just belongs to marginalized groups. But we understand that safety, whether it be psychological safety, emotional safety, physical safety, it's a basic human right. And I mean, as a believer, I go back to the basic golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Right.
So it's awkward for us to strongly want certain things for ourselves as individuals and have that individualistic approach, but not expecting that it's a basic need or right for the other people who are in our lives or in our spheres of influence for them to want the same.
Yeah.
Whether they are family members or friends, our significant others, even our neighbors, proverbially, whether it be co-workers or physical, your literal neighbors. Other people have the same basic right of safety and acceptance and validation and so on. So if we could first redefine or actually define what those things are,
Yeah.
then we can have a more informed and educated conversation.
Yeah, I want to talk about, accessing therapy and demystifying the stigma around that. But before I talk about that, um, when in a relationship or friendship or anything of that nature, pulling it back to women, when a man tells you that, he's feeling like he's on his last, or he's falling apart, or, he feels like he's going to break down, at that point, what does the man want? What does the woman? Because at times you may feel helpless. Men are supposed to be this strong figure. They're supposed to have it all together, and now the man is being vulnerable, telling you that he's breaking down. What do you do as the woman, based on your professional, understanding of it?
Lovely. And I would preface my response by saying, women are more susceptible, or they are more typically the fixers in society.
Right.
And it's interesting because people would think that men, we are the fixers. Yeah, we might be the physical fixers. There's something broken in the house, we fix. There's a financial need, we fix. There is, something that needs to be repaired, an appliance and so on, we fix. But when it comes to the emotional side of things, when it comes to the psychological side of things, women are more prone to be the fixers, whether that is something that's that's received or requested, or whether it's something that's involuntary. Women just run into situations being the fixers. So their children, something is wrong with their children, they want to fix.
Yeah.
Something is wrong with their family members, they want to fix. And especially something is wrong with their partners, they want to fix. They want to help them feel better, because women are nurturers, yeah? And so when it comes to psychological and emotional situations or problems, women run in to fix. But when a man says that he's on his last, one, it has already taken us it's a huge undertaking for a man to say help, I need
Right.
help, right? And what we need first and foremost is support and understanding, because we don't just want you to run in without having all of the details or without understanding the context, or the nature in which we need the help and the support. We don't just want you to run in an uninformed way, but we want you to actually, running in means to stop, means to listen, means to support us by, one, finding out how can I help you. I remember when we talk about the account of Adam and Eve, and the fact that Eve was prepared for Adam. She was brought forward for Adam, and it was on the context of God understanding that the man needed a helpmeet. And I like to refer to a helpmeet as a partner, or a woman who's going to come in and help you meet your potential, a woman who's going to come in and help you meet the parts of yourself that you don't want,
Right.
and help you meet a certain level of safety that you may not experience from the regular Joe. And that's why she would be your person. And so when it comes to women hearing men being on their last, or even perceiving that a man needs help in a particular way, whether he expresses it, whether he admits it or acknowledges it, or so on, the first way to run in, or the first way to help, is actually to stop and to listen, to find out, where can I support him best? How can I help him meet the solution to this problem that he wants? And the first way to get that is by actually listening and paying attention.
Very powerful. Talk to us about therapy and accessing those life coach skills, services that you have, and just, being open to getting help outside of yourself as a man.
Yeah. I would say first that, because we defined earlier in the conversation what psychological pain is, we understand then that as human beings, when we have pain in any sphere of our lives or our human experience, we want to escape that pain. But we want to do that in a healthy way. I mean, some of us, we like to take matters into our own hands, so we won't even go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Some of us may have a toothache, we take the old time remedies. You may put a piece of clove or garlic on your teeth, or you gargle with salt water. But you can only do so much to try to abate that pain before you have to seek a professional, right? But I tell people in other spaces, let's say, for example, you have financial pain or financial issues, you may go to an advisor, you go to the bank for a loan. You may have physical pain, like as I said, something in your chest, something in your back. You may seek a cardiologist, or you may go to, somebody who's orthopedic, somebody who can help you experience relief from that pain. Psychological pain is as important. Emotional pain or emotional fogginess, cloudiness, it's as important. Even if we want to avoid the word pain because of the negative connotation of people perhaps thinking it's weakness, or people perhaps thinking that it's going to trigger something traumatic in them. Let's just say it on the level of displeasure, discomfort, a lack of clarity, fogginess, cloudiness. And so our services, and when I say our, I mean, mental health professionals, our services would be to help you experience relief and comfort from the psychological pain, but more so to help you achieve a level of focus and clarity that you may not have experienced before, and that you may have been seeking or trying to establish that by yourself, but you just don't have the tools. You just don't have the remedies. And I want to use this analogy. I remember my mom, there was a time when she had a very high blood pressure. And I mean, for days she had been experiencing high blood pressure. And I saw her doing a lot of home remedies, drinking the garlic tea and biting garlic and all these different things that you may want to do, but nothing was working. And then we went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "How long have you been experiencing this?" And she said, "Well, about a week." And the doctor said, "Ma'am, if you had not come in today, because of the trend of your readings, you were on the road to having a stroke."
Wow.
And that's how important it is to with psychological pain. If we don't address it and strike the iron while it's hot, it may come to a point where trying to take matters into your own hands with your own limited knowledge or with your limited experience and already negative outlook on life, that causes you to further spiral downward. And we know how those things could end. So I would say seek the help, seek the support. In my case, I am a behavioral therapist, but I think that when I tell people that, it gets them more intimidated. So I otherwise prepared myself as a holistic life coach. And that holistic approach, it's literally, we are taking your life and I'm holding your hand and walking you through the alleys of your life, or the hallways of your life, and holding your hand to go into those doors or those rooms that you may have locked away and you want nobody else to see, or you may have never even explored, but you're just afraid to go into those areas. But I tell people, one way for you to advance in life, the first thing you have to do is take stock. Take stock. And that's what we do, as mental health professionals. We help you take stock to understand where you are at, what you're currently expressing, looking at the quality of your thoughts, just looking at the quality of your environment, because sometimes it's not that you have a problem, but just the space, the area that you're in, the people that you surround yourself with, the habits that you have formed gradually over the years, those things are the things that are causing you the psychological pain and reinforcing those. So we help you identify those things. I would help you identify those areas, detect where there's cloudiness, and together we will walk from the darkness and we'll come into the light. And you experience a level of clarity and focus such as never before.
Thank you so much, Dellison, for joining us this morning. Before you wrap, how can persons get more information on you, whether it's your website or on social media or contact number?
Definitely. So I can be found on Instagram or Facebook with the handle Delli Digest. I mean, it's here on my shirt somewhere. Yeah, Delli Digest. DELLIDIGEST. I refer to my social media profiles as a virtual safe space, a virtual community where we come in and literally we address all matters, ranging on all matters, sexuality, spirituality, bias, vulnerability, all of those things that people tend to find very difficult to talk about. We talk about it all. I bring forward relevant content on a regular basis, and people can connect, as part of the community. And then extending beyond that, of course, I have my website, that persons can find me, www.DellisonCharles.com, and you can come there. You can see the list of services I offer. You can see the testimonials from persons that I have worked with, so you can understand that this is not a hoax. It's not a fluke. There is methods. There are methods behind it. There's a method to what people may perceive as madness, but at the end of it, you really do come out being a better version of yourself. And I know that that's a buzzword. People hear a better version of yourself.
Yeah.
But honestly, who does not want to be the best versions of themselves?
Exactly.
It just requires you to overcome the hurdle of discomfort, overcome the hurdle of stereotype and bias and negative connotation. And once you can get past that, then you break into the realm of experiencing authenticity. And that's what my work is marked by. My philosophy is authenticity. So at the end of it, you come out being able to celebrate yourself for the ways in which you grow. You come out being able to extend grace to yourself, and you come out just being fueled, energized, but most importantly, informed and prepared to make advances and put one foot in front of the other to become that better person.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dellison, for sharing with us this morning. We really, really appreciate you. All the best to you and in your work. We take a short break. When we come back, we have lots more.